wealth management, tax, accounting, and payroll. Thank you for voting us Yuba Sutter's best in multiple categories, including financial advisor and wealth management firm for the past 5 years. You can find more information at shawassociatesinc.com or 530-674-1150. Shaw & Associates is proud to support community radio.
Hey, good morning to you. It's a quarter after 8 o'clock. Good morning, Crystal.
Good morning, John.
Hey, happy anniversary.
Glad to see you back.
Well, thank
yes, happy anniversary.
Yeah, this is the 1 year anniversary of our new studio here, and how appropriate that you're the guest today, because Yuba River Endowment largely responsible for allowing us to do that.
So the Yuba River Endowment, for those that don't know, is a group of Yuba County farmers that have rights to water on the river. And in certain years, which was not last year, they're able to sell some of that water when the groundwater supply is really high and good. And they've been giving a large portion of those proceeds back to the community. And one of the first things that they did was they met Bob Fischetti. And Bob really pulled the heartstrings. He's just
passionate.
A community volunteer, just absolutely a fantastic guy. And he came in and pitched the concept of moving the studio. You used to be downstairs, moving it up here, really beefing it out so you could do these great community interviews in the morning. And the guys gave $10,000 to that effort, and here we are 1 year later. And congratulations.
Well, thank you. And it's appropriate because in times of like high water or levee problems that we've had in the past, we would be on the air. So it's a scratching back kind of thing.
Well, they're really hoping that is a source for residents. And hopefully we don't need it again, but unfortunately we will. And that kind of leads into...
That is appropriate because we've got Alicia Wright in the studio for times like that. There's certain people that run into burning buildings. I imagine you're one of those kind of people because...
I try not to run into the burning building.
Well, what I mean is...
I will go out on foot and search.
You will get out there and get the job done. There's certain people, the calmest person in the room, whenever something happens, some people like, oh my gosh, things are falling, the sky's falling, but there's that one person that actually is calm. And that's what you kind of inculcate in your volunteers. Is that right?
So this is Alicia Wright, and she is the training officer for the Yuba County Search and Rescue.
Yeah. And the Search and Rescue. You train the volunteers to be able to have that peace of mind, because I know that in times of trouble, you revert back to the training. And that's what this is all about.
Yeah, our volunteers do a lot of training. I help coordinate it. It goes through the Yuba County Sheriff's Department. We have different counties that will come in, and we'll do mutual trainings with them, an annual SARX, and we just... spend our time volunteering and being better.
Are you talking about fire, flood, zombie apocalypse?
It seems like a zombie apocalypse could come, but we haven't had that formal training yet.
Not yet.
We do a lot of just the basic first aid, CPR, ground training, making sure that we're fit and safe so that when we go out on searches, we're able to not put anyone else at risk. And just a lot of teams now have started to get built in our area. We used to have one kind of focus and training for everyone. And we now, as of this year, have some subgroups. So we have dive support training where we support the tech team from the Sheriff's Department. We have swift water rescue where we are training and supporting with our river right here. There are some risks there. And then obviously a lot of it is ground or quad, some equine work depending on the need, but anything we can do to go out and help people in a time of need.
That's what it was called, is the Sheriff's Posse, isn't that right? Or once upon a time, or is it still called that?
We once were the Yuba County Sheriff's Women's Posse, and then we had the Mounted Posse, which were the men. There were two separate groups, and they've now combined, and now together we're Yuba County SAR, Yuba County Search and Rescue. Yet we do still work with the Mounted Posse as our nonprofit, which brings us to our evacuation center and what we do, the work with animals and supporting animal control services in a time of disaster, being able to be called out, open this amazing new evacuation center thanks to Yuba River Endowment. We have...
How appropriate, Yuba River Endowment, because I've lived through two floods. I live in the area that got inundated twice in Linda, Olivehurst area there. And I know that one of the big things was having those animals because, having a place to take them. I had 4 dogs and 3 cats, and they lived inside my car for 3 or 4 days. Yeah, I had to have that thing professionally cleaned afterwards. What I'm saying, again, is that's some of the small things that take that worry off somebody's back. That's
And there's a lot of, I'm not going to say it's irrational, but there are folks that will not evacuate in a fire if they don't have a way to get their horse out, and they haven't planned for it, and they don't have a trailer. And the horse has never even been trailered before. And they will stay there, and it becomes a real issue for the sheriff when they're trying to make sure they get everyone out so that then they can deal with the fire or whatever it is that's going on. And during several of the big fires, what most people I don't think understand is that the fairgrounds does not take large animals. They'll take the cats and the dogs, and that's it. So if you have a horse, if you have a pig, if you have a goat named, what was his name?
Oh gosh, Kevin.
If you have a goat named Kevin, you have to have some place to take those folks. And now they've created this area at the Posse Arena, which is just up Marysville Road in the 5th District, and it's served the entire county already. There's always something going on. There was a fire out by Beale that you got some use out of that right in the beginning, but tell them what you used to do when you had one of these fires. How did you get all these supplies together?
Yeah, so in the past, it was we'd get a call, hey, we need you to open the center, there's an emergency, and we didn't have things on site. So we would call posse members' friends, and we'd have members that would volunteer and go out and pick up just a flatbed trailer worth of panels, bring them to the arena, we'd set them up in our arena. And it took hours to get set up, and that got us thinking about how we could be more effective, as unfortunately it doesn't seem like the fires are going to give up.
And now, thanks to Yuba River Endowment, you have a permanent place like that. You don't have to call out, and you don't have to scramble to get that taken care of.
We do, and it is beautiful.
And what are your capabilities now?
Oh my goodness. If we were fully activated, we could hold up to 120 horses, plus we have pig pens, sheep pens, we have some pasture area for the cows. And we just recently, within the past few weeks, erected a beautiful hay storage barn so that when we get donations of hay and items, we have somewhere to store them. In the past, we might get them and then we'd have to haul them out, keep them from getting rotten.
Yeah.
And we are just set up now.
You bring
for
up a good
success.
point. Donations. How do you accept donations? What kind of things are you looking for? I know cash is always king because it allows you to do other things with it. But somebody's got a huge pile of hay. But would that be something y'all be interested in?
Yeah, especially in the situation where we have an emergency. We do have the storage now for it that we could have donations accepted. They can reach out to the Yuba County Sheriff's Department and donate there through their department. We also have our regular meetings every month. They could come and meet us there. We love to meet the community members, invite them to volunteer with us as well. And then we have our website and on Facebook, we're Yuba County Search and Rescue.
Let's talk about that volunteering, if we could. How do we get involved? Somebody that maybe doesn't have the skills or knows how to ride a quad or anything. Do you teach them how to do stuff like that?
Yeah, so we would start usually with the basic ground skills, hiking, getting to know the first aid. Obviously, there is a process for becoming a member and volunteering. There's a background check. You do have to be 18, and there are certain requirements. Once you
Health-wise, do you have to be able to hike, like you said, or like somebody like me that doesn't have hips? You know what I mean? Well,
You've got some older members that have been doing this for a long time.
You can volunteer at the posse. I mean.
Yeah, so we have, with search and rescue, you would have to do the minimum of a 2-mile hike qualify. That's the very base, and then CPR first aid. We are now, as we're branching off to having different teams, we do have a support team availability, and that would be for someone that wants to support with perhaps just the animal evacuations or in our command post when there's an emergency, but they can't necessarily do as much as some of our other members.
So there's always something to do. If you've got the passion and the want to help out animals, or in times of like this, emergencies, this is a great opportunity to give back. How do they start? What kind of a commitment is it?
So initially, it would just be reaching out, coming to one of our meetings, and making sure that it's something for you, because it is a big commitment.
Yeah.
You do have to attend the monthly meetings, and then beyond that, there's regular trainings. I'm not going to say it's every month, but we try to condense things. We might have a training Saturday where they'll get 3 or 4 things done at one point in time, so they're not having to do it all the time. But it's a commitment based on what your interests are. So if you love the quads, then we do have some quads that you would get trained on, and hopefully become confident in it. Because again, you can't go out and help people if you're going to be at risk yourself.
That's true. Do they get to be in the parades?
Absolutely.
That's always fun to see them.
It's the
Yes,
fringe benefits.
I've learned my waves over the years. So, no, the parades are fun to go out and support and have the quads and horses.
And of course, if you have a horse, this is a feather in your cap, if you will, as far as volunteering, because you can take that horse out and do some work, actually.
Yep, and they can do it both with the parades, and then on occasion we do get called out on horseback. There are some benefits from time to time from being on horseback on a search. You have a different vantage point.
Are people still getting lost as much as they used to? I mean, because with the proliferation of GPS and everything else now, it's coming in great handy.
I always wonder the same thing. I'm surprised with a lot of the apps on the phones that people can have even when they're out of service to see where they're at. It still happens. Life happens. People make mistakes. Number one key thing before you go out in the nature, the wild, whether it's hunting, snowmobiling, camping, let somebody know where you're going and when you'll be back.
Oh, that's in the news all the time, just like people disappearing because they think they go off on their own. Skiing and things like that. We do have a lot of snow this year. Has it changed some of the mission or what y'all do this year?
You know, we sometimes do get called out to different areas when everything happened, when people were getting diverted to Tahoe that
couple weeks
one
ago.
day.
Yeah.
Some of our members did go up there and support with that. We have a member, Henry Souza, shout out to him. He has an amazing vehicle with tracks and was able to go out and help in some of the rescue there.
They're still cleaning up from that up there. It was nasty.
Well, and I think what you said about making a plan is key. And what I really, really, really would love the message to get out is that if you have a neighbor that you know does not have a plan to remove their large animals during an evacuation, please go next door and tell them about this new evacuation center that's here. Like, make a plan to be able to get those animals out. If you have a neighbor that has a trailer and another that doesn't, maybe you can volunteer to help your neighbor out. There needs to be, as a plan when you go out skiing for the day, telling people where you're going. You need to have a plan. We have so many evacuations now every year that if you don't have a plan at this point, I mean, it's silly. This is on you now, right? Everyone needs to know how to get those animals out.
And you mentioned a horse that's never been trailered. I didn't know that was possible. Now would be the time to maybe teach that old horse new tricks.
And that's what pulled at the heartstrings of all of our farmers at the endowment was I don't think that we had really put ourselves in that predicament, but anyone that's been around a horse knows what that means. To try to trailer a horse for the first time.
Especially in a stressful situation.
Exactly. Add it in the middle of the night with fire and your owner screaming and everything else, right? Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable what these volunteers did. When Alicia contacted the endowment and gave us her whole wish list of what this evacuation center would look like, it was about $44,000 in change in equipment, and then they provided all the labor, all the volunteered work to put it all together. And I sent it over to Sheriff Anderson, and I said, "What do you think about this?" Because I wasn't that familiar with what was going on up there. And my phone rang like 2 seconds later, and he said, "These are the true unsung heroes of our community. Give it to them. If you have the means to do it, right? This is something that we would do in a heartbeat if we had the government funding to do it." And again, I think that's something that most people don't understand is that there's government funding to take your dogs and cats during an evacuation, but nothing else. It's not there for the large animals. So this has to be our community rallying together to make this happen. And I can't say enough. And so she wore her hat as the endowment. And as soon as we got done doing all that, she goes, "I'm also a 4-H leader." And I was like, "Okay." And she goes, "We got a little need over here." And so
I'm a little shameless, I know.
Well, when it's not about you, you can do things. You can do those things.
And she really opened our eyes to what 4-H had gone through during COVID. 4-H is run by the state through the UC system, and then has to follow state rules. And they were not allowed to meet in person. And there's not a lot of kids that want to do 4-H if they can't get together and put their hands on the animals and the equipment and everything else. And so they were just seeing this huge decline. And I think everyone was so concerned that we were going to lose 4-H. And in our area, if you have a strong FFA program, you had a strong 4-H program. And we're so proud of our FFA program. We could not lose that base with 4-H. And so the endowment again stepped up, waived everybody's fees to join 4-H last year, and also gave an additional $100 for each child that joined to their local club. And again, we would not have known about that had Alicia not not brought it up. So we'll see what other hats she wears.
Yeah, and I will say, as far as that goes, our membership this year is higher than ever. We're at over 150 members right now, just in
my
Browns
gosh,
Valley
that's
alone, not
amazing.
all of Yuba County. So having that funding and that draw made such a difference.
Well, be
in a
careful what
time-
you wish for right now. You got 150 kids.
Crystal, we've got a lot of water this year. So far, we're like, 252% of normal or something like that. We don't have any rain in the forecast. It's hard to plan, but is there any plan for maybe having those coffers refilled and doing some more stuff in the
I'm
area?
telling you what, I think as a community, we need to keep our collective fingers crossed, right? I mean, Mother Nature, unfortunately, either gives us way too much or way too little. And we saw a little way too much there for a bit. And now we're kind of seeing it back off. But let's hope it keeps going, because, I think that there's so many things that we could do in the community with this funds. So let's keep our fingers crossed that Mother Nature gives us a good year.
Yeah, and not so much in the south, because so they can buy our water.
True.
And
Well,
get a better price for
they
it.
don't have they have a hard time getting it even if it rains. So it's
That's true.
not a lot of storage.
Okay. Well, I guess the next question is, you mentioned go to the meetings, one of the meetings, and is there like information on? By the way, also Sheriff Anderson's going to be on a show tomorrow morning.
Wonderful. So our meetings for the search and rescue are the first Wednesday of the month, second Wednesday of the month. We've changed it. And they're at the Sheriff's Department. If someone is interested, we have a Facebook page. Yuba County Search and Rescue is a great way to reach out to us. And then also on the website, YubaSAR, Yuba County Search and Rescue. If you search there, you'll find it, and it has a list of our officers that you can reach out to, and we'll get you set up.
Well, wonderful. Ladies, any final words?
Again, congratulations to 93Q.
1
Bob
year.
Fischetti out there listening right now. Ken, Gary, you guys have just done a phenomenal job. Congratulations on what you've done here.
It's a beautiful,
Absolutely. And
beautiful
thank
studio.
you, Yuba River Endowment. I know I don't get to see the whole group and the farmers. I get to see Crystal, but pass our thanks.
I will. Thank you very much for what you do.
This community interview is made possible by Shaw and Associates.
I'm Dave Shaw, President and CEO of Shaw & Associates. For over 65 years, Shaw & Associates has been your trusted local expert for wealth management, tax, accounting, and payroll. Thank you for voting us Yuba Sutter's best in multiple categories, including financial advisor and wealth management firm for the past 5 years. You can find more information at shawassociatesinc.com or 530-674-1150. Shaw & Associates is proud to support community radio.
93Q.